You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, Lawrence County prosecutors drop a murder charge against a man accused of killing a woman 33 years ago.
What kind of December is this? Well, to give you an idea, how about a blizzard warning for the state of Hawaii? How about no snow in Denver, Colorado for the first time since the late 1800s? How about record-setting temperatures here in the 4 states? Oh, we're going to have fun in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, U2 guitarist The Edge and producer Bob Ezrin talk about their superstar guitar auction for charity. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The Lawrence County, Missouri prosecutor drops a murder charge against a man accused of killing a woman 33 years ago. Lawrence County Prosecutor Don Trotter dismissed the first-degree murder charge against Lawrence Timmons, who was indicted in 2019 in the killing of Cynthia Smith. 31-year-old Smith was last seen leaving a bar in Mount Vernon in July of 1988. Her body was found in a cemetery a few miles away 10 days after she disappeared. The case could be refiled if new evidence is found. Trotter says he dropped the murder charge because witnesses have died and legal changes to requirements for first-degree murder charges would have made prosecuting the case more difficult. KBI is assisting the Galena Police Department in a death investigation. On Wednesday, police found 68-year-old Gerald Brewer dead in his home on East 11th Street in Galena. Authorities say it's not immediately clear how Brewer died. And on Thursday, the Neosho, Missouri School District unveiled a new athletics facility. The Lazy Boy in-zone facility is 43,000 square feet. The facility is named after Lazy Boy because the company donated $400,000 for the project.
And coaching space for our football and our track programs, but it will also give dance, cheer a chance to change during the football season. And then the indoor facility will be available for all of our teams in the off season.
The entire facility cost $5.4 million. Voters approved it through a ballot measure in July of 2020. This year, Joplin community members played Santa for some students at Missouri Southern. It was through a lion co-op program called Adopt a Lion. As the name implied, folks could anonymously adopt a participating student and buy them some Christmas gifts. On Thursday, the students picked up those gifts.
The students that we have that participate in Adopt a Lion are not our traditional student or the traditional customers of the Lion Co-op food pantry. It's a lot of students that have children, that have families, and are needing things like diapers and bedding and towels.
38 sponsors took part in the Adopt a Lion program. Member of the KOAM family who was a beloved pioneer of 4-state broadcasting has passed away. Virgil Glenn was known for his skills as a guitar picker and occasional mandolin player on KOAM radio beginning in 1949. He became a performer on KOAM TV beginning in the 1950s, first on the program Circle 7 Jamboree and later as a regular on Melody Matinee until that program went off the air in 1985. Virgil was with KOAM for more than 37 years and continued to perform throughout his life. Virgil Glenn was 94. Virgil is featured in a 30-minute documentary produced by KOAM last year titled Remembering Melody Matinee, and you can find a link to that in this story at KOAMnewsnow.com. Virgil was a friend, a gentle soul, and a good man. A boy in Fairbanks, Alaska didn't think about himself for his 6th birthday. Instead of asking for gifts for himself, JB Riza asked friends and family to buy food and toys for the animals at a local animal shelter. JB loves animals, particularly cats, wanted to do his part to make sure the animals get the best care possible. His call for donations got a big response. JB and his family unloaded bag after bag after bringing a truck full of animal food and toys on his birthday yesterday. That's cool. Look at those bunnies.
That's awesome by that kid right there.
Yeah.
All right, we got that. I was not kidding around about that blizzard warning in Hawaii. You can fathom, like, how weird has November been or December been? So yeah, we got a blizzard warning. You know, the last time that Denver, Colorado opened December without snow on the ground? It was 1881.
What?
This is all true. These are things I'm not making up. Yeah, Chester Arthur. I had to go back and look who was president. It was Chester Arthur.
That's
was
crazy.
the president. Crazy. And we start off December in the 70s. Like, what's going on here? That 76 that you see right there from yesterday, that was a record high at Joplin Regional Airport. We got up to 78 in Chanute. That was obviously easily a record high. Now, our daily almanac for today, we're going to challenge it once again. 73 dates back to 2012. 72 is our record in Chanute from 2012. So at least it's the same year. That makes it a little easier to keep together. But yep, we're going to be right back up there once again because waiting on the official sunrise about 7:15 here is when we'll see the glow cloud emerge over the horizon and begin a very quick warm up because at 7th and Rangeline we're already at 56 degrees. As a matter of fact, Carthage and Joplin for the second consecutive day being our clubhouse leaders. Now, out on the western portion of southeast Kansas, we've actually seen about a 3 to 4 degree drop, whether it be Parsons and Neodesha, Independence, now dropping into the high 30s. But just like yesterday, you have to remember yesterday, Chanute was, say about 8-9 degrees cooler than Joplin in the morning, and Chanute ended up being 2 degrees warmer in the afternoon. So don't think that just because you may be trailing like Miami and Grove doesn't mean there's not going to be a huge warm up here by the time we get to the afternoon. Of course, the yellow and green that you see, if we take off the sweeping radar, that's about the extent of it. Not even any cloud cover that's moved in as of yet. Now, we are going to get some increased clouds, and that's an idea of the Gulf moisture because while this portion of the jet stream remains flat, right here, coming off of the south, we're beginning to grab just a little bit of that and head it our way. But we've still got, day and a half before anything arrives. There's a look at our watches and warnings, but talk about all these dense fog advisories down to the south. And that is an indicator that low moisture is beginning to grow. As we look at our weather trend here in the 4 states, back up into the low to mid 70s. I think we'll get up to 73, 74 here this afternoon. Overnight lows absolutely delightful. And coming up here in just a little bit, Tanya, we will talk about what's going to transpire Saturday night into Sunday. Rather uneventful, scattered rain. But then Sunday into Monday, back down to the freezing point.
All right, up next, at least 5 states are reporting COVID-19 cases that involve the Omicron variant. The White House says they have a plan to deal with it. And later, KOAM sports director Jacob Leonard has the story of a former gorilla who brings a little joy to one Pittsburgh elementary school. I'm going to tell you how he's doing it. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. At least 5 states are reporting COVID-19 cases that involve the Omicron variant. As the new strain begins to take hold, the White House is unveiling new measures to try to slow a winter uptick in cases. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
New York recorded 5 confirmed cases of the Omicron COVID variant yesterday. So far, the most of any state.
While this may be highly transmissible, at least from the early evidence, and again, more information is still forthcoming, we want people to know that the early cases that have arisen are not life-threatening. They seem to be minor cases.
Minnesota, Colorado, and Hawaii also reported Omicron cases yesterday. President Biden unveiled new strategies to curb the pandemic.
Experts say the COVID-19 cases will continue to rise in the weeks ahead in this winter. So we need to be ready.
Starting Monday, travelers entering the country will have to be tested for COVID within a day of their arrival. The rule applies to everyone, including vaccinated American citizens.
We're going to fight this variant with science and speed, not chaos and confusion.
The president also extended the requirement that masks be worn on public transportation and said insurance companies would cover the costs of at-home tests.
It's probably already more widely spread than our early determinations have indicated.
But while the world braces for what Omicron may do, the Delta variant remains the dominant strain in the U.S.
Your strategy is the same whether or not you're fighting Omicron or fighting Delta. The answer is vaccines, vaccines, and vaccines.
To date, a little more than 63% of the eligible population is fully vaccinated. So far, only 23% of those eligible have gotten a booster dose. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Officials in New York say at least one of the 5 positive Omicron patients was vaccinated, and again that all 5 cases led to mild symptoms. Health experts say it'll still be at least a couple of weeks before we know how well current vaccines work against Omicron and whether the variant causes more serious symptoms. Well, it's time to celebrate the men and women who work hard to keep our happy hours happy. Today is National Bartender Day. It was founded to honor hard-working bartenders everywhere. So we are raising a toast to those who work everywhere, from dive bars, where everyone knows each other's name, to airport bars, where they keep us company while we await our flights. And we can celebrate by making their jobs a little bit easier. Don't drink and drive. Volunteer to be the designated driver for your group, or call a Uber. If your bartender offers a taxi, accept it. Finally, be sure to show them some extra love with a bigger tip today.
So do they only get one national day, or are they like the dogs and the pies, and do they get 2 national days?
As far as I know, just one.
Do they just get one?
But you know what, Michael? It's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Have you ever met a bartender at an airport who hasn't lifted up your day? I have never run into an unfriendly bartender at an airport.
Oh. No. Yes, Key West.
Really? Bad experience?
She was annoyed because something may have been ordered that was not on the menu by a party in my group, and it took extra effort.
Good job by your group. Can you guys not abide by the rectangular sheet that clearly explains like what she has available to her?
Now, the bottles were up there. It was all available. Like, it was laid out. Make it like this.
I want to travel
Do
with your
this.
group. That's what I want to travel with.
I may have
like
been
that.
referring to someone in my group when I'm talking about myself. I'm sorry.
I want to be with that person in your group that's going, if you've got A, B, C, and D,
I'm like,
you
no,
can
we
make
want this.
No. Yeah, and especially if you're going to go to Key West. I want to go with you next time.
Key West Airport. Hey, we had like a 3-hour delay there.
Not to be confused with, since you're by the water, a 3-hour tour.
And then put it this way.
3-hour tour.
I kind of felt that way sometimes at some point, maybe.
Gilligan, the skipper too, the millionaire, and his wife, the movie star, and all the rest here on Gilligan's Island.
And why doesn't the Dallas airport have 24-hour bars?
Don't you badmouth DFW. That's my backyard.
Hey, it's National Bartender Day. We're just chilling.
You know the crazy thing is now this is a true story. So my backyard when I was a kid, our property line, if you, like when we played wiffle ball, if you hit a home run, if you hit it over the fence, you hit it on the DFW.
Oh.
So that, like, you know, you'd have to jump the fence, go to DFW to get the ball back.
Okay, so
I have spent less time in DFW than I have in any other airport in America.
Cool thing about, okay, there's two airports in Dallas area. What's the other one called?
Love.
They have a lake there that you can row on at that airport. I've been rowing there, and that was a really cool experience.
Shout out to Southwest, who is the reason that Love Field stayed afloat with the opening and development of DFW. Long story, back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 and airport history right after this.
Thank you.
A charity auction taking place next week features guitars from the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, even U2. Our man, Rick Demigella, with the story.
Hey, you, what you gonna do? Come along with me down to ukulele, you.
That's record producer Bob Ezrin riffing on a ukulele donated by Eddie Vedder to Music Rising's Guitar Icons charity auction. Just one instrument amongst a staggering array from across the decades of rock music.
These are personally played instruments that, you know, there are songs, many songs have been written on these guitars. And it's just testimony to how much people care about New Orleans and what it really means in terms of the legacy of rock and roll.
We started Music Rising in response to Katrina and Rita when they first hit the Gulf South. To us, That's the crucible of American and world music, and it's so important, and we saw it all washed away in a flood. So we decided to try to replace the instruments that had been lost.
Beautiful from Bruce and Ronnie.
The autographed instruments donated to the event range from Bruce Springsteen and Ronnie Wood to Paul Stanley of Kiss, and of course, from The Edge himself.
It's an instrument that's been on dozens of stages across the world for that song and others. It's an amazing guitar. The tone is incredible, and I picked this one because it just sounded the best.
And it's hand painted.
That's
Every
right.
one of these are unique.
So this is a Eddie Vedder owned and smashed guitar. If you see the damage to the body, and so this has been an instrument
he
that
uses
he
it for Bob O'Reilly, and so in Who fashion, he smashes it on the stage.
And this from Elton John. This is really the only keyboard in the auction, but it's an amazing piece. Stage used, fully weighted.
Yeah, you can feel those lovely fingers on this keyboard.
This is obviously one of the star items in the auction. This is from Paul McCartney, a very important bass from the Wings days. Obviously it's left-handed.
Yeah.
Flat wound strings, which were all the rage in those days. Amazing instrument.
The auction is hosted by Van Eaton Galleries and takes place December 11th online and in person. In Sherman Oaks, California, I'm Rick Damigella.
So looking at that Chicago Cubs guitar with the number 34 on it, and I've realized that's probably in tribute to John Lester, but how cool would it be that maybe it was Kerry Wood, or even better yet, what if Eddie Vedder had number 34 in honor of Steve Trout? Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Private Herman Campbell of Scranton, Arkansas, and later Pittsburgh, Kansas. He served in the U.S. Air Force from 1942 to 1943, spending wartime at Fort George Wright in Washington. We thank you, Herman Campbell, our four-state hero. Former Pitt State track athlete gives students at George Nettles Elementary in Pittsburgh a little energy and humor to start their day, and he's doing it as a crossing guard. Sports director Jacob Leonard has his story.
Dominic Fonseca gives students at George Nettles Elementary a little boost to start every morning.
Look at the fit today. I like the sweater. I don't necessarily look at this like a job, I don't know, it's fun. Boys and girls, the pride and joy of George Nettles. You, sir, have the best day. Mr. O'Brien, the best day. They're up in the morning, they're tired, so that's something that I would kind of want if I was going to school. Just someone to hype me up and so I can have a good day, and yeah, it kind of gets my day started too, so. Morning, champ. Oh, have a good one, okay?
Fonseca is a former Pitt State track and cross-country athlete. He's now a graduate student at PSU, studying to get his master's degree in social work.
I just felt I could make a bigger impact if I, go back to school, do social work, and work in the child welfare system. Woohoo! Speed racer! Oh, I thought you were gonna keep running.
Helping children is a passion for Fonseca.
You have an amazing day, okay?
Okay.
We'll see you later. It was kind of rough for me growing up, so I think if I had, different resources, a mentor, or, someone to help guide me through, I think it would have been a lot easier road. So I think that's what I want to do now, provide resources for children and families that don't necessarily have them.
But for now,
I'm doing my job. I'm trying to do my job.
He's already making a difference, armed with just a stop sign, a smile, and a little humor.
Hey, you have a
Terrible day.
You too. No kids got hit.
No.
Nope. Then
Didn't get hit either.
there we go. Then we passed today.
In Pittsburgh, Jacob Leonard, KOAM News.
Fonseca is originally from Wichita. He was an all-MIAA cross-country runner for Pitt State, competing for the Gorillas from 2015 to 2018. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we get an exclusive interview with Dr. Justin Ogden, here to talk about orthopedic care. And United Airlines makes an aviation history with first passenger flight using 100% sustainable jet fuel. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Lawrence County, Missouri prosecutor drops a murder charge against a man accused of killing a woman 33 years ago. Lawrence County prosecutor Don Trotter dismissed the first-degree murder charge against Lawrence Timmons, who was indicted in 2019 in the killing of Cynthia Smith. 31-year-old Smith was last seen leaving a bar in Mount Vernon in July of 1988. Her body was found in a cemetery a few miles away 10 days after she disappeared. The case could be refiled if new evidence is found. Trotter says he dropped the murder charge because witnesses have died and legal changes to requirements for first-degree murder charges would have made prosecuting the case more difficult. KBI is assisting the Galena Police Department in a death investigation. On Wednesday, police found 68-year-old Gerald Brewer dead in his home on East 11th Street in Galena. Authorities say it's not immediately clear how Brewer died. In 2018, Missouri voters approved the use of medical marijuana, with more than 65% saying yes. And now activists are turning their attention to recreational use. Legal Missouri 2022 is just one of those groups. This week, it announced it's stepping up a campaign to get 170,000 valid signatures on its proposal to get a measure before Missouri voters in November. The initiative would allow adults to buy, possess, and cultivate cannabis for personal use. What's more, the proposal would clear the records of some past offenders.
Criminal justice reform is a centerpiece of our proposal, which will provide a fresh start to tens of thousands of state residents who have a nonviolent marijuana offense on their record, and those will be automatically expunged after the passage of this amendment.
The group currently has 50 signing locations across the state with plans for more. It hopes to have all signatures it needs collected by next May. Terry Lund, Royster Middle School PE teacher, is certifiably the best PE teacher in the state. Just ask the Kansas Association for Health, Physical Education, and Dance. They named Lund the 2021 Middle School Physical Education Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Lund was honored yesterday with a school-wide presentation.
So when the convention was canceled, where I would be receiving this, it's like, oh, that's, upset and so forth. But having this here with my family, like these kids over here are my kids, and it's like priceless. So,
okay, though. Congrats to Mrs. Lund. Of course, Royster Middle School is in Chanute, Kansas. Astronomers tracking a giant comet say it's changing the way they view the cosmic snowballs. A study from the University of Maryland on the comet, Bernardelli Bernstein, was published this week. Astronomers say this comet is the largest they've ever discovered, about 1,000 times bigger than a typical one. Wow. And according to the study, it is active despite being at a near record distance from the sun. Comets need the sun to heat their surface, but they say BB is already spewing dust and vapors even though it's far enough in the outer solar system. They believe this new information could help them figure out what the comet is made of.
I don't know the size of a normal comet, never mind one that's 1,000 times bigger than a normal comet.
That's cool.
Oh, that's crazy. Speaking of celestial beings.
Bruce Willis? Oh.
The glow cloud.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, glow cloud. It is nice to see you. And now let our warm-up begin. Joplin already sits at 56 degrees. Coming off of a record-breaking Thursday, we're going to be right at it again. Despite the fact that we even have temperatures that are down into the 30s in southeast Kansas, 35 in Sedan, 37 in Neodesha, and only 41 right now in Miami and in Grove, and a whole bunch of 50s throughout southwest Missouri. We're going to warm up. We're going to warm up fast. All that green and yellow right there. Watch this. Oh, there goes the sweeping radar. It's now a thing of the past. From the national perspective, this is a true story, what Tanya and I were talking about earlier. Watches and warnings include a blizzard warning for Hawaii. Yeah, that's the very top of the mountains, of course. Denver has not started the month of December without measurable snow on the ground since the 1800s. okay? Since the late 1800s. This is the last time that happened. And we're going to challenge record-breaking temperatures for the second consecutive day. So it's not just us that has to sit back and be like, what are we doing here at the beginning of December? No, it's not. It's all 50 states that are going through something right now. We finally get a little light scattered rain Saturday night into Sunday morning. Not everybody's going to see rain, however. And then the cold front hits down to the freezing mark for Sunday night into Monday. We'll be back with more KOAM morning news and a special interview with Dr. Justin Ogden right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM morning news. Now, if this looks like a little bit of an unusual sight, well, it's because it is. It has been probably 18 months since we've been able to welcome anybody back into the KOAM studio for an interview, and we thought the perfect way to kind of launch this back would be with a healthcare professional. That's why we're fortunate enough to be joined this morning by Dr. Justin Ogden. Doc, thank you so much for your time. Orthopedic surgeon, and for some of you, you're going to say, wow, that's a familiar face. That's my doctor. I've been to Dr. Ogden before, but you now have a new affiliation. You still call Lamar your home, but you got a new affiliation, and perhaps you're learning, and people are learning about you. Kind of tell us how that transition's been for you.
Well, I started it via Christian in Pittsburgh beginning of September. It was an opportunity to be at a little larger facility, potentially implement some new technology, and also somewhat a challenge to build an orthopedic presence there. And so we're just getting started, but it's been a good transition so far.
As far as those patients that you've taken care of in the past, has it been hard to communicate with them? Hey, I'm not leaving. Like, I'm still here.
When you switch health systems, there's not necessarily a direct pipeline for communication, but people have been finding me through some newspaper advertisements, social media, and so I have been taking care of a lot of my former patients. They've continued to be my patients.
I want to ask you about orthopedic care coming off of our pandemic time. A lot of people may have been in pain 2 years ago, but they were looking at possibly an orthopedic, not a surgery, maybe an orthopedic visit. They were looking at that as elective, and they did not want to put themselves in a doctor's office or a healthcare setting. As we're trying to emerge out of that, I know one of the things that I'm sure you and your staff preach are patient care and safety. What's the transition been like for you and your staff in the past 2 years?
Well, obviously at this point, everybody's still getting screened before they come in. And it is admittedly, being in a close contact, close quarters, seeing patients while masked has been kind of something that essentially you've gotten used to because it's went on for so long. But yeah, just trying to take precautions so that we're not part of the reason that this spreads. But it's hopefully it's something that at some point care gets back to normal and we're not continuing to deal with it.
It was so interesting during that time of the pandemic because we heard about people getting out and riding bikes more. We heard about an increase in bike crashes. We had everybody working from home. Well, carpal tunnel. That's going to build if you're sitting behind a keyboard for that long and not giving yourself proper exercise time. Has there been anything in particular that sticks out in your practice from general orthopedics that you've been like, wow, there seems to be an uptick in this?
I don't know that there's been anything in particular that you could peg to this.
Is it playing catch up though? Do you think people are playing catch up?
Yes, I think there is some of that where obviously people have not wanted to seek out care because they either don't want to be out in public or they don't want to go through the screening. And so yeah, you're seeing people that say, hey, I've been dealing with this for 12 to 18 months, which is kind of unusual when, I mean, the access and the care is normally there, but definitely some delays. And obviously in orthopedics compared to other things, the delays aren't, it's more of a nuisance sort of thing than some of the other delays.
One more thing before I let you go, because I know you're a busy man with a schedule and patients to take care of, so this is kind of where I squeeze in a little personal question. Sports injuries, sports medicine. What are some of the things that we can do as parents? Sometimes accidents happen on a court, a field. Sometimes those things happen. Is there anything that you stress to parents as far as being able to maintain your child's health and try to keep them as healthy as can be before we run into one of those accidents and need to call you?
I think it's critical that kids that are involved in athletics are also involved in the conditioning programs. Most schools at this point have some sort of conditioning program emphasizing stretching, weights, aerobic conditioning. Anything where they're prepared ahead of time is obviously going to decrease injury later in the season.
There you go, kids. You don't skip leg day and you don't skip cardio day. Dr. Justin Ogden just told you that no, it's not allowed. How do we get in touch with you, Doc?
You can find me at Via Christi. Our orthopedic office is currently in the main hospital. And happy to take care of any general orthopedic issue.
Once again, Dr. Justin Ogden. Hey, thanks for bringing us back to a little bit more normal show, man.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Hey, it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Once again, we'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Wednesday marked a milestone in aviation history, one that also offers hope for a greener future. United Airlines flight made it from Chicago to Washington, D.C. using fuel made from a mixture of corn and sugar-based food scraps. Aviation correspondent Pete Muntean finds out how United made one man's trash another man's jet fuel.
Our first ever 100% sustainable aviation fuel flight.
From the moment you step on board, it is clear this is not your regular flight. The passengers are executives and politicians. Flown by test pilots, this plane is labeled experimental, since the fuel on board is not traditional jet fuel. This is what's called sustainable aviation fuel, processed from sugar and corn. It is powering this United Airlines 737 in one of its two engines, a first for a flight carrying passengers.
This is an important and historic moment for global aviation.
United CEO Scott Kirby says this test could one day combat climate change. The Biden administration's goal is no aviation carbon emissions by 2050, an industry that contributes about 3% globally. Sustainable aviation fuel cuts emissions by up to 80%, but it is up to 8 times more expensive than regular fuel and right now in limited supply. But it is a start, with electric airplanes too far in the future.
There's simply no battery technology, even theoretical technology, that has enough energy density that you could put enough batteries on the airplane to get an airplane this big with this many people flying this far. And so, what works in a lot of other transportation industries won't work for aviation.
This test touched down in Washington with a message. Airlines want tax credits to lower the cost and the FAA to approve the fuel more widely. Manufacturer Virent says this fuel is so molecularly similar to jet fuel, it is a direct replacement.
It means all the infrastructure, the planes, the engines, everything's ready to go today, right now. So this hopefully someday is not really a big event, it's just the normal way we do things.
Google's planned return back to the office stays on hold, and Burger King celebrates the anniversary of the Whopper with some throwback prices. Here's a look at some of today's top consumer stories.
Over the Omicron variant, the Dow soared 617 points, the Nasdaq gained 127, and the S&P 500 rose 64. The emergence of the new coronavirus strain has prompted Google to postpone its planned return to the office. All employees were supposed to go back on January 10th, but in an email to staffers yesterday, the company said that would be delayed indefinitely. Google said it would reassess the situation after the start of the new year. Burger King is celebrating the 64th anniversary of the Whopper. The fast food chain will mark the occasion by offering the sandwich at its original 1957 price of just 37 cents. The Whopper deal is available today and tomorrow for customers who order online using a Royal Perks membership.
We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
My good friend Bill Vickery joining me right now in the studio, because Bill puts a smile on my face and It's the spirit of Christmas. This story, however, Bill, is not in the spirit of Christmas, folks. Police in Houston, Texas. Well, where else would it be, right, my man? Right. Well, tells you what Bill and I think about Houston. Anyway, police are warning parents about a Facebook scam involving Elf on the Shelf. Brianna Connor explains the story.
The magic and the wonder that kids look forward to every Christmas was supposed to arrive in a discreet package like this on people's doorsteps. But when parents realized the packages weren't coming, another mama elf stepped in to help.
I've never been scammed like this before. So it's just jarring to me. Like I said, it's jarring to me that somebody could do this to children.
Elise Hendricks has a 4-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. She says they were both excited about the special way their family leads up to Christmas Day.
We don't have any parents. All of our parents passed away, and traditions and the magic and all the Christmas stuff is really, really important to us.
This year, Hendricks decided to make it easy on herself and bought a prepackaged Elf on the Shelf kit from a seller on Facebook. She says she thought the woman was a local small business owner, but turns out she may have been a scammer.
Moms of Kingwood, Moms of Houston, Pearland, Memorials, like everywhere was just popping up with people posting about this lady taking their money and not giving the kids.
All of the posts prompted the Pearland Police Department to put out an alert. We're not reporting the woman's name because she hasn't been charged with a crime, but officers say anyone impacted should fill out a police report.
It made me feel so sick.
Catherine Lamb legitimately sells Elf on the Shelf kits, but when she heard about what happened, she started giving them away.
I just felt like the magic was lost and I wanted to help immediately.
Thanks to all her creativity and her generosity, several kids will get all the Christmas fun that comes in these kits now, including these two.
Thank you so much from me. I'm so grateful.
I'm just happy I could do it, honestly, because I felt terrible for him.
All right, as we turn our attention to a live look outside of Television City with the glow cloud already beginning to heat us up, question is, can we get up to 72 degrees, 73 degrees today? 72 in Chanute, 73 is our record at Joplin Regional Airport. Cruise passed it yesterday. Set records in both places, 56 already in Joplin. Still a wide variety though, anywhere from 35 to 56. So 20-degree difference between what we're seeing out west in Sedan. Joplin's still our hot spot at 56, and then we've got 41 in both Miami and in Grove. Take off the sweeping radar, clear and clean as can be. Now remember, back-to-back days of pretty much record-setting December warmth for Thursday and Friday. We already set one, now we get ready for two. Saturday, rain doesn't kick in till late Saturday night. Don't let that change your plans, and really should be done by about 9-10 a.m. on Sunday. And Sunday, even at 6:30, we're still sitting about 55 degrees. And get ready overnight when you wake up on Monday morning, back down to the freezing mark. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The COVID-19 variant known as Omicron has been discovered in a growing number of states, including New York, Colorado, Minnesota, California, and Hawaii. There are at least 5 cases in the New York City area, and officials expect the strain is already at the level of community spread. New research finds Omicron is about 2.5 times more likely to reinfect someone than the original strain of COVID. Federal health officials predict a surge of COVID cases and deaths this winter. The Biden administration has announced starting Monday, all international travelers, including Americans and those who are fully vaccinated, will be required to get a COVID test 1 day before coming to the U.S. instead of within 3 days. The president is also extending mask mandates on public transportation, requiring private health insurers to cover the cost of at-home COVID tests, and urging vaccinated Americans to get a booster shot. The Senate passed a stopgap spending bill last night, averting a short-term federal government shutdown. Legislation now heads to President Biden's desk. Prior to the congressional green light, some Republicans had advocated for shutting down federal offices over the weekend in protest over federal vaccine rules for large businesses. Those are some of today's top stories. Let's check in with Michael for a final look at your forecast.
We're trying to break a couple more records today for temperatures up into the low to mid 70s. Great looking weekend to start with. Remember that rain isn't until late Saturday night into early Sunday. Done with it by Sunday afternoon, and then Sunday night, that's when the cold front really kicks in, takes us down to freezing for Monday morning.
Well, Panera is getting into the holiday spirit with a different take on a festive tradition. The bakery chain is releasing 4 ugly cups for the season. They feature misspelled reindeer, a deformed gingerbread man, and badly drawn snowflakes. Panera teamed up with TikTok sensation Emily Zugay for the designs. Does that make fun of her? Well, she's known for her satirical redesigns of popular brand logos. Panera says it wanted to bring customers joy and laughter this year and remind them what's inside is what matters most. The reusable cups are for sale at Panera restaurants. Customers can also enter to win some for free at PaneraUglyHolidayCups.com.
I got enough plastic cups. That's what happens when you have 2 kids. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
The sweet